Hello everyone, myself Dhruv Chadda. I've been trading for several years now and I have explored many concepts along the way. Your very basic price patterns to Fibonacci, harmonics, waves and smart money concepts. But from 3 years I've been using engulfing concept and it has given me so much clarity than ever before. So I will be sharing with you guys how you could replicate the same for you. So this series is gonna be split into multiple parts and we will be diving from the very basics to the advanced concepts. And this video will be covering about what is pattern and what happens on the chart when a buy or a sell engulfing pattern forms up. And along the way we will be going into your advanced concepts and using few different concepts with the engulfing concept to make better decisions. So let's get started with the very basic first, which is what is an engulfing pattern. So here we have a bearish engulfing pattern and a bullish engulfing pattern. So let's understand what makes the difference and what is the rule for an engulfing buy or a sell to form up. So when we talk about bearish engulfing sell, all we need is the prior bullish candlestick low has to be engulfed with a bearish closing. That's all. So the rule over here is that this low of a bullish candle has to be engulfed by a bearish candlestick. And when we talk about bullish engulfing pattern, just the vice versa of the bearish case. So all we need is the prior bearish candlestick high has to be engulfed with a bullish candle closer. The important thing over here to keep in mind is that we only consider the body closer below the low or the high as engulfing pattern, not just the wick. So when we mark this high, it has to be engulfed with the body closer, not just the wick. So if we consider this scenario over here, I won't consider this as our engulfing pattern since price failed to close above the high with the body closer. Okay, so this is a very important key detail. And once again, a bullish candle low has to be engulfed with the body closer with the bearish candle. That will be considered as a bearish engulfing. And when a high of bearish candlestick is being engulfed with the body closer of a bullish candle, it is considered to be a bullish engulfing. There are few different types of engulfing pattern that we will go into the second video, but for now let's understand what happens on the chart when a sell or a buy engulfing forms up. Okay, before that also we have to understand the very key concept that engulfing concept and SnR concept, or if you look into the OHLC perspective or even the supply and demand concept, they all are similar. The trading decisions or the trading I would say execution could be different. The SNR trader may take a trade at a different level, but the core understanding or the core reasoning behind those concepts is similar. Okay, so let's understand that. So over here I have a candlestick chart. So this is a bearish engulfing sell, right? Because the low of this bullish candle has been engulfed by a bearish candle. So the rule for bearish candles, bearish engulfing pattern has been met, right? And one more key detail is that this shows that the order flow has been shifted. So the buyers that pushed from this low has been engulfed with the bearish candle. That means the buyer has been absorbed and the sellers took control over her. This is the meaning behind engulfing pattern. So the buyers were in control once we closed with this closing. So a bullish candlestick was formed, and this low was the reason for this push. So, or you could say this low was held that pushed price higher into the price. But on the later market, price closed below the low and engulfed it. That means the buyers were absorbed and the sellers took control. That is the meaning behind the engulfing pattern. Okay, very basics. So when we compare this with the SnR concept or the closing price, it just forms up a resistance, right? Bearish engulfing sell will form up a resistance and a bullish engulfing buy will forms up a support. Okay, and when we look the OHLC perspective, let's see that. When we look at the OHLC perspective, if I try to mark this out, so we had a open over here, a low, a high, and a close, and the new candlestick forms up open, high, low, and a close. So this is the OHLC diagram of this engulfing pattern, right? So what is happening? So we could see that there was a low over here that held price and pushed price higher, right? And even did a small breakout to the upside, and there was a major low, this low, that actually held the price for a longer period of time, right? And when engulfing cell forms up, it means that this low that held price higher has been broken, and this major low is also been broken. So it tells us that there is a certain shift in market and the sellers are in control for now, for that particular time frame. Since price is fractal, so we have to look at what time frame it has happened. Okay, so this is how the engulfing patterns will look like in the OHLC perspective, as well as here we discussed about in your SnR way. Okay, so moving ahead, we will be discussing about the SND view, supply and demand view, how it is similar to that. So in supply and demand, we have the very basic four types, which is a rally and a base and a rally, right? And then we have another type, which is a rally, base, and a drop. And for the bearish view, we have a drop, base, and a drop, and a drop, base, and a rally, right? So if we look at this, what is happening? All we doing is that we are forming a bullish engulfing buy in a case of rally, base, and a rally. Why? Because the high of this bearish candlestick has been engulfed with the body closer, forming up a EG buy. And in this case, we have formed a bearish engulfing cell. Why? Because the low of this bullish candlestick has been engulfed by a bearish candlestick. So in the case of rally, base, and a drop, we are forming up a bearish engulfing cell. And so the same goes for over here. We have a bearish engulfing and a bullish engulfing over here. Okay. So this tells us that when we are working with the engulfing concept, we are basically using the same concept as SnR, DOCHL perspective or either the supply and demand. All of them are simply the same. The execution of those traders may be different, but the core understanding, the reason, I would say, is the same. Okay, so now let's move ahead and let's try to look some examples on the chart. Okay, uh, so over here, if I look into the gold chart on a daily time frame, I can see this is a bullish engulfing buy. Why is that? Because the high of this bearish candlestick has been engulfed with the body closure of a bullish candle. So that would be considered as your bullish engulfing buy. Again, we formed another bullish engulfing buy. Why is that? Because the high of this bearish candlestick has been engulfed. And then we later again formed a bullish engulfing buy. If we look for the sell examples, the very clear one is over here, which is the sell bearish pattern. Why is that? Because the low of this bullish candlestick is engulfed by a body closure of a bearish candle. Okay, if I just put a bar replay, since price has already wicked this low, can we consider this as the bearish engulfing sell? No, we can't. Why? Because the price failed to close with the body closure. We need body closure in order to consider this as bearish engulfing. And on the very next day, we had that bearish closure. So this is when we have formed this bearish engulfing sell. This is an important key detail to be considered, that we only consider body closures as our engulfing sell or a buy, not the wicks. Okay, I'm gonna mark few engulfing sells or buy. So this is an engulfing sell, this is a 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 engulfing sell, and this is a engulfing sell. Now let's look at few buy examples over here. This is a engulfing buy, this is a engulfing buy, this is a engulfing buy. Okay, on this example over here, you may have a question that should we consider this whole high to low as the engulfing buy, since it is the mother candlestick and all the candles are inside this candle. So you could either say it is an inner bar pattern, right? So should we mark this as the engulfing zone or should we mark this as the engulfing zone? So the answer to that is you should be using the very current candle, not the prior to that. When we will go into the advanced concept of range, and then we will understand it better why we will be using this recent candle, not the prior mother candle or inside bar. So, but it is not necessary that you have to use this as the zone. You could use the whole range as your demand zone. We will go into that in the later parts, but for now let's understand what is engulfing buy or sell. So this is a buy candle engulfing pattern, this is a buy engulfing pattern. This is a buy engulfing pattern, and this is another buy engulfing pattern. Now let's look at the okay. Now let's understand what happens on the lower time frame when a buy or a sell engulfing forms up. This is very important. Okay. E- even we even though we have discussed it over here, if we look into the OHLC perspective, if we look at the OHLC perspective of engulfing buy or a sell, we understand that breakouts on the lower time frame happens when a buy or a sell forms up. Over here, when the engulfing sell was formed up, we understood that there is this low that was broken and there was this low that has also been broken. That tells us that the shift in order flow is happening. Just like this, the buyers was absorbed and the sellers took control in the case of sell bearish engulfing pattern. So let's say if this is a daily bearish candlestick, bearish engulfing pattern, we are more likely to see that on the 4-hour candle time frame or the hourly time frame will be having breakout, or you could say engulfing failed in terms of engulfing concept to be there. Okay, so if we look at the example over here, let's look at few examples. So over here, if I look at this bearish engulfing pattern, and then if I shift to the 4-hour chart, what I can see is there is this buy engulfing that has been broken. So there is this breakout happening and there is this small breakout happening. Okay, let's look at few more examples. Over here, if this is a bullish pattern, let's see at H4. So I can clearly see that there is this engulfing field and this engulfing field. That tells us the buyers are now in control and the sellers has been absorbed. Okay, we can look at few more examples. If I go to the weekly chart, so in the weekly chart, if I look at this buy engulfing pattern and look at the daily, I can clearly see that there was this engulfing field and then there was this major engulfing field as well once the engulfing buy was formed up. So this, in the conclusion, is that once a buy or a sell engulfing forms up, there is a shift in market structure or there is shift in order flow that gives us an understanding who is in the control right now, either the buyers or either the sellers. So this is the core basic understanding of engulfing concept, and on the later videos we will go into, on the second video we will go into the types of engulfing, and then slowly into the rod block zones, storyline, direction, and also combining few other concepts to make better trading decisions, such as Bollinger Band and few concepts of range, and then there is few more concepts that we could use to make good decisions. So this is all for today videos. If I summarize, we understood what is an engulfing pattern, what are the rules to be met, what happens, on the second thing which we discussed is how engulfing pattern is similar to your SnR concept or the OHLC perspective, or you could either say how it is similar to your supply and demand concept. And last we discussed what happens on the lower time frame when the engulfing buy or a sell forms up, and how could we understand who is in the control right now, either the buyers or either the sellers. So this is all for today. We will go into the advanced deeper concepts on the later parts, but first you should practice how you could spot engulfing buy or a sell. So yeah, that's all for today. Have a great day, guys.